So the exercise would be here is like to really close your eyes and think about what vows would you make to yourself?
Mm.
Would you make the vow to be your own best friend? Would you make the vow to never abandon yourself? Would you make the vow to believe in yourself when others don't believe in you?
Hello, 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 and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Thrive State podcast. It's your host, Dr. V, and I want to welcome you to a really special episode because I get to spend the next hour or so speaking with a really good friend of mine. We met at a personal development conference a couple years back. Her name is Neelam Verma, and she's a former Miss Universe, runner-up, former Miss Canada. She is lovely. And today we talk about her new program, Integrity Dating, which is really about relationships. And if you've read Thrive State, and if you haven't, you need to pick up a copy at thrivestatebook.com. You'll know that one of the 7 bioenergetic elements is relationships. And having healthy relationships is actually what's going to elevate our bioenergetic state so that we can reach optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And on today's podcast, it's not just about the relationship with the other person that we talk about. We really talk about if we want to have excellent relationships with other people, we first need to have that relationship with ourselves. So stay tuned because this podcast is so valuable. So just to give you a little bit of insight to our guest today, she's again the lovely Miss Neelam Verma, who's an international TV presenter, a former Miss Canada, and runner-up to the Miss Universe contest. She's worked with leading TV networks from around the world, including CNN, ESPN, Discovery Channel. She has hundreds of interviews with newsmakers, celebrities, New York Times authors, professional athletes, and spiritual leaders. After experiencing deep heartbreak and a near-death experience, she realized that the purpose of life is love. She stepped away from her career in media to focus on healing her heart and went on an extraordinary journey around the world, which became a journey back to herself and back to self-love. Integrity Dating was created from Neelam's deep desire to find real love and life companion. It was a natural extension of the person she had become and the quality of the relationship that she desired to create. Although she is a graduate from a leading Canadian business school, Neelam likes to list her educational accomplishments as a bachelor in heartbreak and a master in relationships and a PhD in healing from the School of Life. We have spent lots of time together in personal development conferences such as A-Fest. We went to Burning Man together. She is the lovely Neelam Verma. Neelam Verma, how is it going? Welcome to the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you for having me, Kien. I have not seen you for ages, and I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God, you are looking amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Canada, former runner-up of Miss Universe. She's looking foxy as ever. Neelam, you look great.
Thank you. My goodness. I don't always show up like this, by the way, but for you today, I did a little, something special.
All right. Well, we love the energy. And you know what? To start things off, we actually do a portion of the show called the 5 to Thrive. And, you're into integrity dating. And this is really the foreplay of the podcast, which is asking you 5 questions. They're worth 100 points. I determine what the points are, and there's no right or wrong answer.
That doesn't sound fair to me, by the way.
5 to Thrive. Here we go.
All right.
Neelam Verma. So these are meant to be like quick 5 to 10 second answers. And that's just to kind of lubricate the conversation for the podcast.
Check out the words you're using, by the
way. Question number 1. What question do you love being asked on a first date?
Ooh, what question what is your intention?
Oh, I love that. Number 2, your favorite personal development book.
Okay. A simple, small book that I picked up probably 20 years ago, and I still use it like a little Bible. It's from Deepak Chopra. It's 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Ooh.
And I still remember when I was in my early 20s and I was traveling the world, I had this little book and it was tattered, and I used that to manifest things. Before The Secret came, that actually was incredible. Definitely check it.
Definitely check that out. And along the lines of that, who has been your favorite teacher in your life?
Who has been my favorite teacher?
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to say this and I say it with all humility. I will have to say myself. And
Mm.
I think different versions of myself have taught me the most. When I look back, 5 years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I doing then? And I've learned so much from who I was
Mhm.
then to who I am now. So I'd have to say different versions of me. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. What song gets you in the mood the most?
What song? Oh my gosh. I love Spanish guitar. I love like Spanish guitar, anything like that, that romantic-y or like energy and
Oh, all
a
right.
lot of culture. Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, we've been through a lot of transformational experiences together, Burning Man, our A
Oh my
Fest
gosh.
things. What has been the most transformational experience for you?
Oh my gosh. But by the way, you bring back so many memories because you had met me literally right when I was about to dive into a deep spiritual journey. But Burning Man was incredible. But I would have to say A Fest, that
Yeah.
conference that we went to, that for me was a game changer because that was that when I had just gone there right after a big breakup. And that made me realize that hold on here, it's actually not about learning about love and learning about other people, but it was actually about self-love. So that for me was perhaps the biggest game-changing
That's
event.
awesome. So A Fest is actually where Neelam and I first met. It was A Fest, I believe, back in 2017. A Fest is a big conference thrown by Mind Valley, and definitely check out Neelam's Mind Valley podcast with Vishen Lakiani. You can find that on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are. But that's where we met, and we really that's I think the start of both of our transformational journeys, and that's where I want to take this podcast. We know you've got an awesome course that's out there called Integrity Dating, and we will get to that because relationships, are one of the 7 pillars in the book that I talk about, and really great relationships are the cornerstone of that. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper, but I know you've gone through a lot to really get and to bring that course to life. And
Mhm.
many people already know you as Miss Canada and have done the Miss Universe pageant. Tell me, go back to Neelam Verma as a child. Was that something that you aspired to do, and how did you end up doing these pageants?
No, not at all. In fact, you know what, Kian, it's so funny because we share something very similar. We're both children of immigrants.
Yeah.
My parents came from India in the 70s. They came to Canada with nothing and they had 4 kids. They actually had 2 kids and they had 2 kids in Canada when they arrived. And I was one of them. And, we just had a very simple, humble, middle class, background. We worked really hard and it was all about the family. So I had no intention to ever go down the path of, the Miss Universe by any means. I actually went to business school.
Mm.
So I went to business school. I was a marketer for Fortune 500 companies. And I remember I was working at Procter and Gamble and I was about 2 years into my job. And started sitting at my desk and I was like, there's got to be more. There's got to be something more out there. And
Mm.
I remember thinking, I just want to travel the world. My parents, hardworking immigrant parents, are like, no, no, don't ever consider leaving your job. That was the dream for them. But one day they were on a vacation. I decided to quit my job, pack my bags, and just go travel the world. I sold my car and literally I took off for almost 8 months around the world. And my first stop was in Egypt. And it was in Egypt that my mind was blown away. I was diving in the Red Sea, climbing mountains. I actually got discovered as a model in Egypt, which I thought was funny
Oh, okay.
because I used to hire models for Procter and Gamble. I used to work for CoverGirl Cosmetics. So that 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 was a really transformational experience for me when I went around the world and I went to Asia, again, diving mountains, climbing oceans, and it blew my mind of what was possible. So I grew up in a family where, you go to school, you work hard, you get married, you have kids. That was the whole
Yeah.
dream. Meanwhile, here I am traveling the globe, camping out with Bedouin tribes and just exploring. And I went by myself.
Mm.
So when I came back to Canada at that time, L'Oreal had offered me a job to manage their brands in Paris, as a marketer. And I was like, this gotta, I just had this incredible year of possibilities. I'm not going to just go back to that. I want to try something new. And I didn't know what it was going to be, but I just trusted that the universe had something big for me. And somebody asked me to join a beauty pageant. And I initially laughed. I'm like, why would I join a beauty pageant? I'm a corporate professional. I just travel the world. And they said there was a free trip to India.
Ah,
And I was like, India, that's where I'm from. I need to go there. Okay, I need to go. So I actually ran for the free trip, Ken. That kind of snowballed into such a crazy experience. So I won that, was getting ready to go on this free trip, which never actually happened because then a month later I got called, phone call from the Miss Canada organization. And
mm,
they're like, hey, we heard about you. You're a corporate professional. You travel around 25 countries. We've never had a South Asian woman compete before. Would you be interested? Thought it was a joke. I actually hung up the phone because all my friends were laughing because they came from the corporate world and that wasn't their background.
right.
It was actually the real organization. So I decided, hey, you know what? Say yes to the universe and let's just see what happens. And I went and I won as a result of winning Miss Canada. I had to represent Canada on a world stage at Miss Universe, and my life literally like changed overnight, just like that. Got my first TV show, was on billboards. And it was really cool because as a South Asian woman, it was the first time a South
Wow.
Asian woman had ever represented Canada on a world stage like that. And so I remember when I got off in Puerto Rico, that's where Miss Universe was. They were like, Miss Brazil. I'm like, I'm not Brazilian. They're like, Miss India. I'm like, no, close. And I was like, I'm Miss Canada. And they had the assumption that Canadians were all, blue-eyed and blonde. So it was a really amazing message for all the minorities in this country.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was really empowering.
Well, did you find that you were ready for the spotlight at that time? I mean, going from corporate all of a sudden to have the spotlight on you. I mean, how did that change you?
Yeah, no, I was not ready because it was like this. It was surreal, actually. Sometimes I wish I could go back now and be who I am now, and I would handle it totally different.
Right.
But what I found was the experience that led me to that, which was when I had taken that time off to travel the world. For me, that was such an incredible experience where I came into my own. I was trusting the universe. I trusted myself. I was fully
Mm,
authentic in myself. And that's actually why I feel when I came back to Canada, I said no to the corporate world. I said yes to these pageants. That's why I feel everything kind of was happening so quickly
yeah.
and synchronistically. But when I got to the level of Miss Universe, things changed because suddenly I couldn't be myself fully. I had
Ah,
an entourage. I had an entourage. I had, designers and people teaching me how to speak in front of people and, just coaches and literally fitness instructors, like a group of people trying to turn me into this
yeah, to mold you.
product,
Hmm.
to mold me into this winner who's going to win. And although I'm so grateful, it was one of the hardest things for me because I think I was already myself and I had
Yeah.
to now unlearn to be myself to follow what other people were saying. So it
Mm,
became a very difficult journey. And I actually lost myself in that process. Now looking back, and I will say this confidently, if I had just gone as me without that entourage telling me who to be, I would have won. I wouldn't have been a runner up. I would have actually won because I think that when you're authentic, that's actually what makes it happen. And when people are telling you, walk like this, talk like this, speak like that, I don't really believe in that now.
yeah.
But that's just what the process was. But definitely lost my way during that process and lost my confidence, Kian, because suddenly everything was about perfection instead of just being content with who I was. I
Mm.
got thrown in not just a spotlight. I got a television show and then I was doing modeling gigs around the world. And I'd had people saying, your nose is like this, or your shoulders are broad, or this is not perfect. And I was like, wow. So they became very I guess on your self-esteem could be very taxing.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. I mean, I was certainly no Mr. Universe, but, I definitely share the story of how losing your authenticity, at least for me, manifested in physical disease that I actually had to turn around and fix. So, we share that for me to a much, much smaller degree.
Now,
So,
hold on, show me some of those biceps. You're kind of like Mr. Universe. Come on. No, but
so,
but what you're saying about the
yeah,
mind body connection,
yeah.
absolutely. For you, it manifested in a disease. For me, my morale and my self esteem and my confidence went so down. I was at the top of my game, top of the world. Like I said, TV shows, billboards, and yet my self esteem became like this. I felt bad about
Amazing.
myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me what that was like in terms of it changed you. Did it change what you were seeking from, from the world, at that point? Was it more significance? Was it more status? How did it change you mentally, that whole process?
I've always been a romantic and I've always been all about love. And
Yeah.
even that journey, I was always committed to doing things I loved and
Yeah.
trusting myself. So I started out on that journey. But after that, once I got thrown into that spotlight, I wanted to really leverage what I was doing. So yeah, I think suddenly it shifted from love to significance.
Mm,
I wanted to do my best because I wanted to, now I had a significant amount of pressure too, not just the pressure of my family and community. I had the whole country. I had everybody's eyes on me. So I almost felt like if I don't win this, I'm going to disappoint everybody in this country, every ethnic minority in this country. So the pressure was huge.
wow. And did that continue when you became, anchor on so many different shows, CNN, ESPN, Discovery Channel, and all those things?
Yeah. So when I became a television host, like you said, I worked for really cool networks around the world. I mean, it was a learning process. And is it pressure? Now it's very natural for me and I really enjoy it. It uses my natural skill sets. I mean, but in the beginning it was pressure. You're on live TV and I've done a live morning show, live news show, and they're like, go for it. And you got to figure it out. So there was a little bit of pressure. And that's why I actually moved away from doing hard news to more lifestyle and entertainment and more things that connected with people's soul, because I felt like when I was doing news, I was constantly reading stuff that wasn't positive and it was out of integrity with who I am. I'm a
Yeah.
positive soul. So I would read death and destruction every day. And I almost felt like an actress having to read these things. And I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. So I left that and I decided to only take on shows that spread good vibes or do things that was much more connected to who I was.
No, it really sounds like when you follow your heart, when you follow into that emotion of love, all these positive things happen. And when you deviated from that, when you deviated from authenticity,
Yep.
that's when, life started to fall apart, which is why I love hearing this journey, because it sounds like this journey has really led you to what had you create integrity dating. So tell me how that came about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I should say this. So, Integrity Dating was created, I launched it last year in 2020, which was a divine year. I mean, this has been a pandemic, but it's also been a very interesting year because I felt like the world needed it now more than ever. But the reason I created this, Ken, was I was in a long term relationship that lasted almost 10 years. And it was an on off, not a very healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And when I think back about why I was in that relationship, it all actually has to do with what happened years ago when you said when I was at Miss Universe, because I had deviated from who I was.
Yeah.
So never really solid in who I was anymore. And I wasn't feeling my self esteem was not where it needed to be. And I didn't feel enough. So I think I was playing out patterns that were
Yeah.
really unhealthy. And so I got myself in this situation that wasn't ideal. Integrity dating actually came about because I went through a very deep heartbreak and a near death experience.
I remember
So
you telling me. Neelam
yeah,
Verma stayed at my house a couple of years ago, and we got really, really deep. But please share that story. Is it the story of you on the plane?
yeah. So I was working in Istanbul. I was a television anchor in Turkey, and it was right before my 40th birthday. And I say it loud and proud. I'm in my 40s. To all the people that are afraid, I'm super grateful. We age and we age beautifully. And I want to say this because a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're telling people your age." You know what? You gotta be authentic and own what you are.
This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by Thrive State MD Immunity Supplement. I actually developed this supplement at the start of the coronavirus pandemic. As some of you may know, I'm a frontline healthcare worker and have worked directly with COVID-19 patients. Some of you may also know that during that time, my fiance was pregnant with my daughter. I had a bonus daughter at home, and I also had elderly parents I needed to protect. I wanted to serve my patients at the highest level while making sure that the people around me were safe. And I couldn't find a product that was out there that actually had quality ingredients at meaningful dosages that would keep my immune system operating at its optimal form. I ended up having to buy supplements from multiple different sources to get the right quality, the right quantity, and the right formulation of an immune product I know would keep me safe. And while I never got sick using that formulation, It costed me hundreds and hundreds of dollars. The Thrive State Immunity Formula is a premium immune formula designed to enhance the body's own natural immune defenses. It is a unique blend of well-researched vitamins, minerals, and medicinal mushrooms, including vitamin C and D3, zinc, quercetin, astragalus, cordyceps, reishi, turkey tail, and beta-glucan. Kaya is now born. She's 2 months old as of the time of this recording. I'm still continuing to serve by treating COVID-19 patients, and I feel really confident about my immune system, applying the techniques outlined in my book, Thrive State, and taking the Thrive State MD immunity supplement. If you haven't already, pick up my book at thrivestatebook.com. And if you would like an immunity supplement of your own, the listeners of the Thrive State podcast get 20% off by using the code THRIVE20. Remember, you are your best medicine. Now let's get back to the episode.
So right before my 40th birthday, I decided I want to celebrate in Mumbai. So with the person I was in a relationship at that time. So I got on a plane and I got on a last minute flight to Mumbai. And I don't know what happened, but I felt like that plane was going to go down. And maybe it was because there was 3 bomb attacks in Turkey at that time, but turbulence was so bad. The lights started flickering. I was actually walking to the bathroom on the plane and I fell. And there was something in me was like, oh my goodness, this is going to go down. And I sat in my chair, I went back to my seat and I started, I had tears coming down my eyes and I had the most surreal experience, Kien. I started sending white light around the plane. And this is before I was ever into energy work or spirituality to that extent.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand, but I started sending white light around the plane to protect it. And then for about like 3 or 4 minutes, I had this razor sharp thinking, very weird, strange thinking. And the first thought that came was, oh my gosh, my father doesn't know where I am. So I pulled up my phone. I'm like, I'm going to send my itinerary. If the plane goes down, maybe Wi-Fi will kick in and he'll get it. So I send my itinerary. Second thought was, okay, I'm going to write my will just in case this plane goes down. So I actually wrote my will. My bank account numbers came to me. And then I wrote a goodbye note. And I held my phone. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to send this one unless the plane goes down because then they're really going to get scared. So plane doesn't go down, 5 minutes passed, 6 minutes passed. And then I'm like, all right. Then I start fluffing up the note, play Michael Bublé at my funeral. And, to my sisters, you can keep my saris. I designed saris. So then I realized the plane wasn't going to go down. But during that experience, it was actually super real for me. And what happened was the plane landed and I realized that I was given a gift from the universe. And what happened was when I looked at that note, first of all, I was super grateful that we landed and it didn't crash. It was just really bad turbulence in the air and it was just a surreal experience. But what happened was when I looked at my goodbye note, Kien, how I was living my life was so not aligned to what mattered to me at the end of my life.
Yeah.
So in my goodbye note, all I cared about was love and relationships. My parents, my siblings, the men I had loved, my best friends, like a small universe of people. But the way I was actually living my life was the opposite. I was running from love. I was chasing fame. I was chasing success, all of the opposite stuff. And right there in that moment, I had this huge awakening. And my heart chakra literally just opened like this, huge awakening. And I realized, oh my God, the purpose of my life is love. And I made a commitment there that day to be with someone, like to be with people I love, to do work I love, and just to commit my life to love. And then I show up in Mumbai, like, oh, and my ex didn't know what hit him. And then I found out that he was out of integrity with me. And that really broke my heart. That is what that kind of got me on this deep spiritual journey. And you had just met me at that time because I was heartbroken and devastated. And I had just had this awakening from this plane experience and I didn't know how to heal. So I heard about this thing. I was out in a restaurant. A friend is like, oh yeah, I went to this conference. I'm like, what conference? And then I Googled it and it said that conference was happening in 2 weeks in Spain. And it was all about love and relationships. And I was like, oh my God, I need to go there because I need to know about love and relationships because clearly I don't know enough. So I booked a plane. I showed up there. That's when we met at A-Fest. And it was there that I realized I wasn't there to learn about love and relationships outside of me and how to be in one. I actually needed to learn about, oh my gosh, self-love
Yeah.
here, because that's the issue. That was the issue all along. And from that point on, I stepped away from a media career. I took 2 years and I went really deep. Like I learned from leading minds on the planet about relationships, love, energy, mindset. I've learned from shamanic healers for energy. I learned about mindset from Tony Robbins, quantum physics from Dr. Joe Dispenza. I even went to Bhutan. I was invited to Bhutan by the king of Bhutan. I learned from monks who had meditated in caves for 6 years about happiness and love. This was really a deep journey. And when I came back, everything changed for me.
Mm. This is beautiful. This just kind of goes to show coming back to ourselves, coming back to authenticity is really the key to, you know, those emotions that truly matter most to us, which is love, which is really understanding who we are. And as you did that, you not only healed yourself, but really put yourself in a position to, I mean, you are glowing, I have to say. I mean, as time goes on, you continue to glow and glow. That's beautiful. Tell me now a little bit more about your course. I know you dive into like a 3-step process in terms of how somebody starts, to integrity date. And really it's about coming back to integrity with yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I had finished that spiritual journey and I came back to Canada, I was ready to hit the dating scene. But Kien, I had transformed and I realized I went on these apps and I was swiping away. I was like, oh my gosh, that I had transformed, but I felt like the dating scene needed to transform.
Yeah.
And people were showing up unconscious and out of integrity. And what I mean by that is they were not being authentic with their intentions. They would ghost. And I was just, why are people showing up this way? And it occurred to me that, online dating, it just felt like a buffet of options, on like tons of options, but it really left me hungering for a real connection.
Yeah.
And I realized that there needed to be a more conscious approach to dating. And no one was really taught this. No one taught us this. No one actually even taught us how to love. If you were lucky and your parents were great examples, amazing. Some of us, like my parents, were so busy just in survival mode, they didn't have that opportunity to teach us. So I realized that people were showing up with unhealed parts of themselves.
Yeah.
I decided to change it. I decided to create a global movement in conscious dating, and I created this course called Integrity Dating. And like you said, it's 3 steps. First, you discover yourself, discover who you are through mindset work. Then you transform yourself through these exercises. And then you become your best self. And once you become yourself, best self, that's when you're in full integrity. Then you begin dating someone who's also done that work. And then you're able to create this incredible soulful union. And so I created that 3-step process. And in that, there's 7 pillars.
Yeah.
And the 7 pillars are self-love, authenticity, integrity, communication, vulnerability, energy, and surrender.
Mm.
And I created these based on everything I had learned in my journey and everything that I had done to get me back to the place of Neelam. And I put it together, and it's really a transformational journey back to yourself, Kien. That's what it is.
Mm.
It helps you learn how to date consciously, but brings you back to yourself so you can show up fully as who you are and then date from that place, so you're not playing out unhealed patterns. So you know what your values are. So you're intentional, and so that you're attracting like-minded souls.
That's so important because I feel like we really bring in and attract the people. They are our mirrors, and if we have unhealed parts of ourselves, that's who we bring in. And that's where maybe some of those patterns will repeat itself in relationship if we don't really come in as whole, perfect, and complete.
Absolutely. Like actually, one of the modules I have is relationships are mirrors. Everything that you have in your life, every person that you attract is a mirror. So the question is not to look at them like, I don't really like that guy because X, Y, Z. It's hold on, let me just turn it back to myself. What is it about me,
Mm.
that I attracted? And that really is the work. And it's funny because I'm doing a special series for Mind Valley right now called The Art of Dating. And I just got off a call yesterday and I was sharing all of this work. And there was a woman on that call, Kien, and she wrote me afterwards. She's married. She's in a happy marriage for 15 years. And she said she showed up on the call thinking I was just going to give dating tips. And she thought, hey, it's interesting. She'll share it with her single friends. And she was blown away because she said, as a married woman, as a woman in a relationship, even that, what I was sharing with her about, conscious dating, conscious relationships is so fundamental because it's not just getting you to find someone. It's actually helping you maintain a relationship for the rest of your life. And actually, that's what I share with people. I'm like, integrity dating is not about, finding the one. It's about becoming the one first and then sharing your love energy with others.
That's beautiful. I mean, one would, originally think that this course is just for singles who are looking to date, but I do feel like, if you happen to be in a relationship and if you're out of integrity in a relationship, this work is very transformational there as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm like, okay, well, it is called integrity dating, but I'll do a workshop called integrity relationships because there's so much demand now for this. But
Mhm.
absolutely, because the most important relationship you have in your life, Ken, and you know this, is
Yeah.
with yourself.
Yeah.
It's with yourself. That affects every other relationship that you have in your life. You get this right, then your relationship with your partner, your family, your children, your colleagues, then you can get that right. And I like to teach this thing. I do this exercise with my clients, and it's about inviting them to become the love of their lives.
Mm.
So
Can you
often,
briefly walk us through that, please?
yeah, sure. So,
Yeah.
so often, we seek this partner, this soul union, this incredible person that we've been dreaming of. And it's amazing and it exists, absolutely. But the love of your life is not outside of yourself. The greatest love story you're ever going to have is with yourself because you are going to be with yourself till the end of time. You're going to be with yourself through sickness and health, as you know. You're going to be with yourself till death do you part. So, why do we not treat ourselves like our loves and we treat other people better? We treat others with more kindness and compassion and love. So, I try to invite people to actually consider that you are the love of your life and take that back and make a vow to yourself.
Mm.
So I asked them to marry themselves. This is the exercise, Ken. I would ask you before you get married, marry yourself first. Instead of making a lifelong commitment to someone else and making a sacred vow to someone else, make one to yourself first. Because if you can't commit to yourself, how are you going to commit to someone else?
Amen. Amen. I'm going to tell my partner that. I'm like, we can't get married until I marry myself, baby.
Let's book it this weekend, get married. You marry yourself this weekend, Ken, and we'll book a wedding in the summer. No, but I
That's
really truly believe
wow.
that. And so the exercise would be here is like to really close your eyes and think about what vows would you make to yourself?
Mm.
Would you make the vow to be your own best friend? Would you make the vow to never abandon yourself? Would you make the vow to believe in yourself when others don't believe in you? What vow would you make to yourself? And then to write those vows down and make a ritual out of it, whether it's doing it at sunrise or doing it with music and candles. I personally like to do it in front of a mirror because I think mirror work is very powerful. And you look at yourself and you say your vows and
Mm.
you make a commitment to yourself. And you know what happens? If you do that and you approach dating from that place, you attract a very different kind of person because the person that you're going to attract has to meet you at the standard of love that you've set for yourself.
Mm.
And you come from a place of abundance instead of trying to fill a void within you.
Wow. This is just one of the many exercises and techniques you're going to get if you sign up for this course with integrity dating. This is really, really powerful stuff. And, I want to leave the audience with, some other, things that they can take home today. And I actually heard you speaking with Vishen the other day about questions, you might want to, ask and not be afraid to ask, maybe on your first date. And for those people who are single, please use these. But hell, if you're in relationships and your conversations aren't going so well, I believe it's these same type of questions that will really build deeper connections. So rather than, ask about the weather or not, can you talk about what some questions might be to really kind of build a stronger connection with
Yeah,
somebody?
for sure. One of the modules or one of the pillars is communication, and I teach conscious communication.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I worked in media for 2 decades. So I come from a communication background, but after taking this spiritual journey and going deep, I changed the way I communicate. And a lot of it's intentional and a lot of it comes from vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I believe that you can know someone more in 3 dates than 3 months. And I know because I've done it. And the reason you can do that is because when you approach communication from a vulnerable space, from an intentional space, from a fearless space, you can actually go deep real fast and get to know someone's heart and soul instead of just having like, just surface conversation week after week and not really getting to the heart. But in order to do that, a lot of people can't just jump into conscious communication. They need to go through those pillars first. They need to first be authentic. They need to be rooted in self-love. They need to have integrity. Then they can get to that place. They need to be vulnerable. And that's why I kind of set up the course in that way to get them to that place. But this is what I would do on a date is I would open the conversation with questions that I really want to know. Because before you go on that date, you need to know what your intentions are. Are you looking for something serious? Are you looking for your soulmate? Are you looking to, like, is it casual? Like, what is your intention? And secondly, the work you would have done before, if you worked with me, is you would know your values. You would know what you desire and what your relationship vision is. So now you're on this date, you know what you want. So ask the other person a little bit about them. What does it mean to you to be in love? How do you like to receive love? Have you gone through a heartbreak? What did you learn from that heartbreak? Have real conversations. And instead of, I know a lot of people are like, well, are those questions too direct? No, because if you create the conversation as an invitation, if I'm vulnerable and say to you, Kien, I was in a long-term relationship and really lost myself in that relationship. But after going through this amazing journey, now I know what I want and I'm seeking a real union of love. And I learned so much. What have you learned? Suddenly, you'll be like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And it's an invitation for you to also open up and share. And then you really go deep.
That sounds beautiful. And it also weeds out the people who've not done the work,
And
right?
that's the point. The
Yeah.
whole point is you don't want everybody. You don't want anybody. Everybody. You want the one, or you just want people who are going to be able to co-create a conscious, beautiful relationship. You want a partner in growth. So if you do this early on in the first couple of dates and you go deep in a kind, respectful manner, you'll know very quickly whether this person shares your vision, your relationship vision, or whether you should release them. And by releasing them, you're not just doing yourself a favor, you're doing them a favor because you're allowing them to find their love and you're keeping the space open for you to invite your love in.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I mean, you're going to find so much of this conscious work in integrity dating. So, Neelam, how do people find out more about the course and more about you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, www.integrity.dating. And if you want information about the course, just sign up and I will send that to you. I'll also send invitations for exclusive live events that I host, as well as masterclasses. And I'll also send you the link for my private Facebook community. I have this incredible community of like-minded souls seeking love from all around the world. So just go to the website, www.integrity.dating. I will send all that information to you. And my bio and everything's on that website as well. You can learn about my story and see everything there. Also, all the different podcasts that I'm hosting. I should say that I'm really proud because I launched Integrity Dating in 2020. And it was incubating for many years before that. I was already on the mission, it's my purpose. So I was already on kind of developing it slowly. And when I brought my purpose to the world last year, I mean, it's been spreading so fast, Ken. Like not only am I doing something with Mind Valley right now, it's been on mainstream media across Canada. I'm in talks right now with doing stuff in India because I believe that the world is actually ready for a more conscious approach to love because the pandemic changed the way we view love forever.
Mm.
People are seeking real connection now. They're not looking for surface stuff. So it's the right time to integrity date.
Oh, definitely check out her site, check out this course. And, Neil, we're going to talk because I could see you doing some of my summits and things like that. You're going to be our go-to for relationships. And here's the last question, Neelam. Throughout your life, you've gone through so many experiences. What has been your best medicine?
Oh, awesome question. My best medicine. My best medicine is self-love. It
Yeah.
truly is self-love. Like I absolutely love myself. And it took me losing myself to come back to this place of self-love. And once you realize that you are this divine being that was born to love, you approach life in a totally different way. So yeah, that's my medicine. And I want everyone to take that. Can I prescribe that medicine to everybody in the world? A little bit of self-love.
There you go. If not, I'll use my MD and prescribe it too.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Neelam Verma. Neelam, thank you so much for your time today.
No, it's my pleasure. This was honestly a blast. And thank you so much for having me.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you're finding this podcast to be valuable, if you're learning a lot, please share with your friends and family members. And please consider leaving a 5-star review at ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. That review is really going to help the show grow. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State, at ThriveStateBook.com. I would love to connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn at KienVuMD. Remember, you are your best medicine.